I'm Michael Chipman, Lagree Senior Master Trainer, and welcome to the Do You Lagree podcast. Each episode, you'll meet the people behind the Lagree method, the studio owners, trainers, founders, and experts who share how they discovered Lagree and the moment they knew they wanted to bring it to their communities. We'll talk about the rewards and challenges of building a business and community around this powerful fitness method and the lessons learned along the way. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to Do You Lagree, episode number 4. I'm Michael Chipman. I'm so excited for this interview today with the amazing Sharnee Scott, someone I have venerated for years as a leader in Lagree education and fitness. Sharnee is not only a Lagree Senior Master Trainer, she is the Senior Master Trainer with nearly a decade of experience in leading level 1 and 2 certifications and teaching classes worldwide. After many years of experience in dance, Pilates, and Lagree in Australia, Sharnee moved to the USA in 2017 to take a leadership role in teaching Lagree and has since led hundreds of certifications across the US and more than a dozen countries, earning a reputation as the most experienced master trainer in Lagree education. Sharnee has authored content in advanced Lagree certifications and released an anatomy ebook, Anatomy Fitness 101. She's taught groups on all the Lagree apparatuses from the Proformer to the Superformer in Hollywood and has led celebrity private sessions such as with Adam Sandler, among many others. Sharnee's prior fitness credentials span across dance, posture analysis and correction, bar, stretch, boxing, group fitness, and personal training. I might also add she's also a badass rock singer and musician and someone I look to as a mentor, a friend, an example, and a trusted confidant. She did one of my level 2 certifications, and I learned so much from her, and I've watched so many of her videos, and I could not be more honored to have her on my podcast. Sharnee Scott, welcome to Do You Lagree?
Oh, Michael, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate it. And I feel the exact same way about you. It's an absolute privilege to be asked to be on your podcast. Congratulations and all the success that you have in Europe. And you understand the moving across the other side of the world for Lagree. We share lots in common. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I thought about that actually. I remember when I was moving from Los Angeles to France, and you messaged me, and you were a little emotional actually about it because I think you knew what I was about to get into, and I wasn't. I had no idea. I mean, it's been amazing. It's been such an incredible, grand adventure, but it's been really hard and really challenging. And I think you knew better than anyone what it's like to leave your family, your friends, your home country, and move to another place and start a whole new adventure in this Lagree career and this amazing community.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. But there's so many challenges that you couldn't anticipate without just doing it. And yeah, I can totally relate. And it's something that continues to be actually challenging, just being away from family and renewing visas. And but it's totally worth it. I'm so honored that I have had the opportunity to do so much with Lagree internationally, having Australia is just so far away from everything.
Yeah, I agree that it's both sides of it. It's an incredible honor and privilege to do this work and to be a representative for such an amazing fitness method around the world and to teach it to the best of our abilities to really help people and help. It changes people's lives, as you and I know. It's one of the most rewarding and amazing parts about our job is that the work that we do, the certifications open doors for people, and many people are making their entire lives, they're living and supporting their families from the certifications that we do. And it's a real honor to be part of it. It's hard. There's a lot of challenges, moving to a new country, like you said, all of the immigration, visa status and everything, but the value of the work and what you get back is really incredible. So yeah, I feel like we could talk the entire hour about that. But I wanted to say, Sharnee and I, like I said, I've just venerated her and her work for so many years. And we thought that maybe one of the ways to organize this conversation would be to come up with some juicy do's and don'ts that we see as we travel around the world and do these certifications. And so I kind of wanted to just dive right in. We came up with a list of around 12 things that we thought would be good to talk about, things that we see from a master trainer point of view that we think would be really valuable to share with the Lagree community around the world. And so if we can just dive right in. The number one, and I love this, that you brought this up first thing, is audio and music. And I just want to have you kind of talk a little bit about the importance that you see in the role music plays in teaching Lagree.
Yeah, I think it's the one thing that's underestimated as a new studio owner. You'll go into a new space, and with the mirrors and hard walls, acoustically, that's a real challenge to have the audio of the microphone, the verbal cues bouncing around the room. So even if you're spending a lot of money on great equipment of speakers and headsets, preamps, the acoustics itself, and also how it then leaks into the neighboring businesses and the complaints that you then get. And so actually I've started to consult in that way, Audio Fitness 101, a new kind of branch off things I'm doing because of seeing that this is such a big, a lot of people that either fitness or audio, and you and I both have a fitness background with the audio and the music, both of us being musicians. I studied audio engineering. I've got a lot of friends that are experienced in that field. So I just feel like I wanted to reach out and let people know if you do want help, and to not maybe spend money on, making the studio look really beautiful aesthetically can come later, but acoustics comes before that. And there's things that you can do that are quite expensive, and then you can budget it much lower, just depending on what it is that, what budget that you do have, but not to underestimate the value of having good acoustics and good sound. And then obviously there's mic technique, letting the trainers understand not to distort the speakers and to be heard, and clarity. And as we all know, music is at the top of the list of what's a great class. And so, just group collectively sharing great playlists. I honestly find it difficult myself to honestly stay fresh and to have music that's appropriate and that you like listening to. But again, I'm running another workshop with Master Trainer Laura about music and beats per minute. Sebastian likes to sit at 127 beats per minute. Some studios like to play around with more of the EDM type of tempo, and then there's that more slower type groove tempo that sits around the hip hop style. But hip hop can be very lyrical, which interferes with the trainer's speech. So there's a lot of aspects to it, but I think number one is the acoustics of the studio and the sound just bouncing around the room like a swimming pool. That's something to really be looked at before you open up the doors and have those complaints coming in.
Yeah, it's such an important thing. I was talking to my friends, my colleagues in London this past weekend about it, and it's one of the things that we talk about inspire, motivate, and educate. And I think the inspire and motivate is so connected to music, to what kind of music you use. Like you said, the BPM. There's a certain style to Lagree that Sebastian set he kind of created the vibe of Lagree. He likes to use a little bit more EDM. I tend towards a little bit more like house music, but always with a very consistent tempo. And I feel like my background as a musician and singer, also I feel the music in my body, and I'm able to transmit that sense of connection to the music to the people in the room. So in terms of just like picking the music, I think that's a really important thing. I find that YouTube and SoundCloud are a treasure trove of music. I use complete like live DJ mixes, and a lot of these DJs that I follow are putting out music all the time. So they kind of do the work for me of staying fresh. But it's a very good question, and I think it's interesting what you said about hip hop and rap. I love a lot of it, and I had a lot of colleagues who taught with it in LA. But I agree with you. I feel like sometimes the lyrics can kind of get in the way of the teaching, and maybe the pulse could be a little bit slow. I don't know if there's a hard and fast rule on that, but what do you think about that?
I know Sebastian loves to sit at 127, and sometimes I'll sit at that higher tempo for the pushing moves, really safe exercises where people are very anchored, like a donkey kick, versus a more dangerous move where we're balancing an escalator lunge. Sometimes I'll hit a slower tempo on purpose through that section of a class so that my voice can carry over the top of the music. Sometimes the push, push, push of a beat, it creates this awesome vibe, but the role of what's more important to be listening to, the balance of the sound, the mastering of songs too. A song gets loud, then it gets softer. So always riding the fader and getting the audio to sit right. But I think it depends on your voice. Sebastian's got such a clear and demanding voice, which is such a great thing to have, versus some of us have a softer tone. So I like to push my volume when I'm motivating, which is more, people hesitate in the range of a runner's line. So come on, push, push, push it out. Mm-hmm. Let's go and get the volume, or the voice lifts for a transition or flying. So to motivate a quick transition or flying or to increase range, I think the volume and the tempo can really lift. And versus other times in class, sometimes I'll set the tempo, the volume back a little. And so that I'm nurturing the client a little more about, if you need less intensity, there is a balance pole, there is a step closer towards you on the carriage, and really letting my voice be heard, just thankfully to the choice of the music playing in the background. I wish that my voice cut through. I can speak loudly, but I exhaust myself, which is obviously something that we've got to be careful of, just fatiguing the voice.
Yeah, it's in Europe, the other issue is that, like you said, there's a lot of close neighbors. Oftentimes the commercial properties are on the first level, and then there are apartments right above that. And so a lot of the studios actually don't use they don't use a big sound system or microphones because the neighbors would complain too much. So it's a tricky thing over here. It's a constant challenge for European studios, especially, to be able to get the music as loud as like a standard Lagree class would normally be, but also be able to hear the instructor without a microphone sometimes. So I don't know if that's as big of an issue in the US or Australia, but in Europe, there's a lot of studios that don't use microphones. So you have to kind of keep the music at bay, which is not ideal for me. I like to have it really, really loud as well. So
it's a tricky thing. Atmosphere for sure, without being able to use, I think a trainer just putting on the headset, I think there's a certain kind of, I'm going on stage, I'm going to teach my class feeling. I used to sometimes, when I first started Lagree, have only a few people in the class and still put the headset on and still put the music up, so that this person may be taking one or two people in class still experiencing the real Lagree experience and not walking out feeling like it was different just because there was a few people. And it would help me to not end up in a situation where I was doing a private lesson, they want to talk to you about their, like their problems or something, like
100%.
Focus on the exercises. So I would create the atmosphere no matter how many people in the room. So I could imagine that though in Europe, the tighter spaces and things like that. I do think that there's always, though, a solution, and definitely something that I'd be willing to talk to people about. I remember in Sydney when I first started, we didn't use a microphone, and I ended up with a little amp in the corner of my own that I would bring in. It was like a mobile type situation, and it wasn't a deal. But I remember being certified and being really impressed by the master trainer and realizing that this atmosphere thing was a huge deal, and I thought that we're lacking that in Sydney, so kind of took it upon myself to do something about it.
Well, yeah, it makes a huge difference. And the other thing I joke about with people, it's one of the benefits of having the music really loud is you can't hear people swearing at you during the class. So that's a little side perk. I feel like we could go on and on about music, but we need to move on here. So number 2 that you mentioned is mentorships pre and post certification as a solution to drop-offs after certification. And I've seen the difference with this too. It's night and day for the the studios and for the trainers who finish the certification, which is just the base, just the introduction to the information that we need in order to be able to create routines, teach a basic routine, and know what the exercises are. But the practice between the certification and starting to actually work and be on a schedule, there's a bridge there that sometimes is missing. I want to just get your thoughts about that and the importance of mentorship and post training after the certification.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how it's going in Europe with that, because I remember we had a master training meeting and we just all decided as senior master trainers, this should be the new normal. Let's be mentoring after certifications, which could be a senior master trainer, it could be a master trainer, a head trainer, an owner. There's so many people that are valid to do that role of mentoring someone post-certification. We in Orange County do it in person, but you can definitely have virtual sessions. Sebastian wants to expand the hours of level 1, which is fantastic. Problem is that flying into a place, it's not always possible to fly into a place for a long period of time. And so the value of any just post-certification hours is really great. And in Orange County especially, it's working really well that they're really required to do the mentorship. And then I'm spending about 5 hours one-on-one with trainers, but we have other trainers acting as clients, whether they're performing well or acting up on class on purpose, so that to manage what it feels like to teach the groups and just practice teaching, giving feedback and giving homework and come back. And it's really great. They're auditioning, and then some studios more strict than others about how experienced they want them to be on the floor. But in Sweat House, where I have been for 8.5 years, they won't put them on the floor unless they're really hitting. And so that's really valuable to the client, but also to the new trainer. It feels like they're not standing out as a new trainer. They feel very confident by the time that they're teaching. And, it's a paid mentorship on purpose, so that they've got skin in the game. If you give free time, people tend to, I can't make it this week. And it doesn't always work out that it sort of splits the difference who's serious about this or not. And some studios actually give half of the money back if they're successful trainers. So they've outlaid, an hourly rate times 5 to someone to get this extra experience and feedback. And then if they get hired, the studio, some of them give them half of that back. So it's really a small amount of money outlay with all this great experience to get ready to audition. And I usually hope that takes usually 1 month and not longer if possible. It depends on the student. Some people like to take longer, things get in the way, but I think the sooner the better. As you know, Michael, as soon as they're certified, they've got to practice straight away. Otherwise, that's the drop-off. Where we get the most drop-offs is that they didn't practice straight out of the certification. They lose confidence, they lose knowledge, and just the momentum.
Yep. That's what I've seen as well. And that's what I tell them at the end of the certification. Look, this is just the beginning. The people that I've seen who are successful, who build the bridge between certification and work, are the ones who immediately start practicing. Like the week after the certification, they're asking friends, family to come over, practicing, teaching, getting as many hours as possible on the machines, teaching, writing routines. Yeah. Well, in Europe, it's a little bit more of a challenge than in Orange County and Los Angeles, because Lagree is brand new in so many places. And so a lot of the people, when I do the certifications, it's the first time they've touched a Lagree machine, and they're on the schedule for the following week for when the studio is open. So in some ways it's good because they have no option. Like they immediately start teaching, and so maybe it's not going to be perfect, but they have no choice. It's kind of the sink or swim. So it's one of the reasons I published all of my routines, just to give people a leg up, because writing routines can be like this really overwhelming thing for people at the beginning. But I love the model that you talked about, and that's what my friends Blood, Sweat, and Tears in London are doing as well. They have the trainers pay a deposit at the beginning of the mentorship, and if they finish the mentorship, they get a full refund. So it's basically just a gesture of commitment to the process, because they've had a lot of people start it. They used to be paying people to do the mentorship, and then people would drop out halfway through. And so just, figuring out the best way to get people committed to the process, because it's hard. I tell people this is not rocket science to teach Lagree, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice and focus and understanding. You have to know the magic 10 for every single move, how to modify, how to progress, how to change the different spring loads, especially in Europe where we have all these different machines now. So people have to know how to teach on all the machines. So yeah, that mentorship and the idea of a month of practice, I think is key. And I hope that all studios everywhere can follow that lead.
If you're a new studio opening in a town that doesn't have Lagree, jumping in and teaching straight away, it's such a good way to just like learning on the floor. The clients don't really have something to compare to, which is really different. Like you said, in California, there's a Lagree studio every sort of, maybe 15, 20 minutes. So they're going to compare trainers and expect a level of expertise. And in a new town, it's completely different. The trainers, the studio, the clients are all developing the community together. And it can work really well. It just really depends where in the world that you are and what neighboring businesses of Lagree are that you're compared to or not compared to. So I kind of like that idea that people are just jumping straight in. They need to open the doors, and they're paying rent. They've got their machines. They need to just launch. And there's so much value in just teaching real people. You learn quickly.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that also raises the huge responsibility that we have as master trainers to teach the method as effectively and clearly and precisely and with as much integrity as possible when we do these certifications. Because when they have 3 or 4 days of certification and then they immediately start teaching the next week, like it's got to be dialed in. It's got to be super, super dialed in. So any master trainers who are listening, that's part of our job. It's fun and it's an exciting adventure, but it's also a huge responsibility to make sure that we are transmitting the method and the most up-to-date version of the method, which is actually number 4 or number 3, the embracing the evolution of Lagree and how Lagree is an evolving method. What do you find is the importance of that in terms of your work with studios around the world?
Yeah, I love when Sebastian talks about the evolution and, compares it to things like Apple, the copycat brand that will just stay the same machine, that Sebastian will constantly evolve not only the apparatus, but the method, which keeps you very fresh competitively. Apple, they're always changing the charger, but we always still go and buy that new charger and kind of want in on what's new and fresh. It's just a really smart leading brand to evolve. Again, if you're a new studio, evolving and latching on to new techniques is easy because you don't have a prior thing that you're trying to get the clientele or trainers to understand what's new. If the studio is used to the back knee and a elevator lunge being straight, to evolve them into rethinking this. I love that challenge. It's all about the education. Why are we why are we bending a back knee? What happens to the muscles? The quadriceps are now lengthened. The lumbar spine is under different amounts of pressure. It's really important to deepening the range of motion. So again, going back to what you said, the magic. And if you don't explain why you're evolving, I think that's a really big no-no. Otherwise, you could get that pushback of a client's used to doing a move a certain way, and now a new trainer comes in and says, no, do it this way. But if you don't explain why, that's, and also giving really options to evolve gradually, because every single body is different. Sebastian I was watching him on Instagram this morning about the curtsy lunge, which is not Lagree, but he was saying how every single body is different. You've got people with short and long, tight and weak bodies. And so, sticking to the method, but evolving it, it's giving people options that if your range is going to go really low, that's really important now to soften the back knee, because at the bottom of the range, if your back leg is straight and your spine is up, there's pressure to the lower back. But if the range is very small and beginner, there's maybe less importance on focusing on, say, bending the back leg, because the range is so small. The femur and the spine has a very small amount of pressure versus getting low. So I think every single thing that Sebastian's evolved is very exciting. I love latching onto it, but I like to sprinkle on change and very much so explain why are we evolving, so that people will have something to latch onto and sort of agree to try.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I just adore you and look up to you so much, because of your deep understanding of the body, your constant curiosity about body awareness, and why we evolve certain moves, why we're bending the back knee, and just the detail with which you just described that. I hope every trainer in the world listens to that, and then they explain it this week on mic to their classes, why we're bending the back knee and which muscles are being activated and why, and how that activates a more holistic version of all the muscle fibers of the leg, and supports and protects the lumbar spine. So great. Thank you for that. And in terms of that, number 4, the one we talked about, is deviating from the method. One thing that I have found that's been kind of a frustration for me actually in Europe is that I hear these anecdotal stories of people who go to a studio where I did a certification, and they said it was just kind of Lagree light, or it was too easy. They didn't break a sweat. And I just say, well, that's number 1, that's not what I taught them. And number 2, that's not Lagree. If it's not intense, if it's not high intensity, low impact, it's not Lagree. I mean, it has to have both. It's not just, a slightly intense version of Pilates. And you come from a Pilates background. And I did Pilates for years. I have the ultimate respect for the Pilates method, but if Lagree is not high intensity, it's not Lagree.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much high intensity. Thus, the results we modify for levels of fitness all the time, as you know, but without the intensity, we're not truly representing the brand. New communities opening studios, I totally support the idea that they might make the spring loads slightly less intense for the fact that maybe a whole community has not taken the workout before, and the duration might also match that. But it should definitely build, as a community, to be more intense as the community gets stronger, and definitely not water it down to the level that people are laying on their back and doing things that don't represent how intense and rewarding to the body Lagree actually is. I think also, with deviating away from the method and doing moves that aren't Lagree, Lagree as in Sebastian approved and recorded and on the Lagree Academy, Sebastian, in the future wants us to be using the routine builders, that the machine on autopilot, that the machine will actually have the routine built in it. If you're teaching a move that's not a Lagree move, the machine won't understand what to teach. And so when we teach Lagree on demand, which we both have, we started to, I'm not sure how long ago, but be asked to use the routine builder, in which we're only choosing exercises that are Lagree moves. And so that, in this future, which looks very much digital, look at AI and how it's quickly becoming so relevant into all these different industries. If we don't really stay within the Lagree lane and we're deviating too much away from it, the autopilot and the routine builders and things, they're just not going to work. We can't, in Lagree on demand, choose exercises that are not Lagree. And people are, which moves are Lagree? Well, it's as simple as going on Lagree Academy, and if it's not there, it's not a Sebastian Lagree exercise. And he's chosen moves on purpose, having taught so many hundreds of thousands of classes and years of Lagree of what does work. So to deviate too much from it, I tend to not deviate from the method very much at all. I don't feel the need. I don't feel like I get bored of just teaching squats and skating and all the foundations. I used to actually want to teach curtsy and do all these different things, but I feel like you end up maturing past that as a trainer. If you're a purist and a foundation person, you don't really need a lot of exercises to make your class exciting. It's being able to, like you said, explain exactly what options that you have to make the move effective with the method, and then, more or less intense depending on your ability. So deviating from the method, definitely not encouraged by Sebastian or us as senior master trainers, because the future of Lagree, it won't match up to it. Your classes won't actually truly fit into the future of where Lagree is going.
Yeah, I tell people my routines are level 1 routines. They're very basic. I stick to the exercises that I know. I know how they feel in my body when I work on the machine. I know how they work in combination with other exercises. Maybe I've added a few more interesting variations as that really fun and exciting part of Lagree 2.0 has emerged, the variations series. But most of what I do is level 1 certifications. So I teach level 1 exercises, and they hit every single time. Like you can depend on it. Like there's no need to deviate from the method, from the basic exercises that are on the Lagree Academy. But that also assumes that people are on the Lagree Academy. And I know there's a lot of trainers who never open the Lagree Academy after their certification. I know because they've emailed me months afterwards asking if they can find their login. And I'm like, wait, you were certified months ago and you're just barely. Anyway, I can go on about that. But yeah, so people need to stay up to date. They need to be up to date with the evolution of the method, and they need to not deviate. It's all there. It's all been invented. This is what's so amazing. I also tell people at certifications, like, you can teach your first mock class and it will hit the very first time you ever teach a Lagree class if you stick to the moves and the method and the way that it's meant to be taught. It's all there. So it's kind of an amazing method from that point of view. Even beginners can teach a kick-ass class.
Yeah, honestly, the foundations are so effective. If I teach the most basic class, people walk out, that was really, really intense. And I think the thing is that clients are achieving success in the exercise. If you're getting bored of an exercise, I feel like there's a chance that the trainer doesn't understand every single joint and muscle that's involved, and that makes it interesting. And to stay interesting and interested, you have to keep being educated. And clients, when they succeed in an exercise after performing it for years, like when people come up and say, wow, I think I just, after doing this move for a long time, finally understood how to do a spider kick or how to perform a catfish. To me, that's so rewarding. I'm not bored by the same move. How do we make the classes interesting? Really good music, different ways to explain the same thing, different sequencing, the exercises themselves to deviate and have to, put all this crazy kind of stuff. I think it's maybe potentially someone getting bored who it hasn't found the fascination in the simplicity of, the pure exercise, and how, and like you said, getting on Academy, are you teaching the move absolutely 100% correct? Has it evolved? Super Crunch, if you look at the Super Crunch Academy now, the range of motion has increased. You can sit all the way up tall on the sit bones instead of limiting the range and keeping it in your abs. You feel more in your hip flexors, in your back body. And you'll probably find a lot of trainers think that the range has stayed the same. And so really important to look at the Lagree Academy constantly, that we're always harping on about it. But it's really interesting to see the evolution of Lagree. This amount of detail of a change makes the exercise really, really different. All of a sudden, you still have options, keeping the range less equals more abs. If you're able to increase the range, there's more in your hips and your back body. So to me, that's exciting to be able to teach a move and to have somewhere to take it, because Sebastian's taking us there. He's the one deviating slightly away from the method. We need not to, just to follow.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Yeah. No, I love how he will just make an exercise that you've done for a long time and take it on a new path.
I agree. I think it's really exciting, actually.
Yeah, it makes it exciting, and to use obviously the new technology of the machines makes an exercise just having a panel up now on a runner's lunge on the front and back, how many different muscles you can now understand and talk about is really exciting to me.
There's so much to talk about in terms of the Lagree Academy. I mean, I'm on it all the time, and almost every time I get on it, there's something new that I haven't seen before. A new exercise, a new variation, a new workshop on avoiding injuries, on form and alignment. It's really an amazing thing. So people need to stay on that. I love the next one you brought up here, the idea of feedback. And this is a tricky one for me because I feel like it's my job to give feedback when I'm in a certification, and I take that part of it very seriously. I think it's the crucial component for people learning and progressing in the method, especially as teachers. But I tend not to give it unless it's solicited, unless someone specifically asks me for feedback. I'm wondering what your thoughts are about giving people feedback, whether that's just as a practitioner in class, or if you, if you just go to someone's class. What are your thoughts about the value of feedback and where and when it's appropriate?
I know. I love the fact that Sebastian talks a lot about feedback, because people think it's, what's the word? Criticism, constructive criticism. And it's not. It's what someone might like about a class, someone else doesn't. You can never try to please everybody. All you can do is try to, truly be the best trainer that you think that you can be. And how do you do that is to take on feedback. And I understand people's sensitivity to it, because I feel like I was sensitive to feedback when I was a new trainer. It's something that you start to realize is very crucial to being better at what you do. But at first, you're just trying so hard that it just seems like a tough thing to hear anything that's positive. So when I take class around the world, I agree with you. I don't feel like people ask me necessarily for feedback. They either do or they don't. And when they do, I'm really impressed and really stoked, because I want to give them positive. But of course, we've got so much experience to share that is there something that I want to give feedback also that might be able to help? Definitely. And without giving that opportunity, I feel like I'm going, you know what you could do? And I do really think a solution, especially new studios, can develop it very easily, but also existing studios, is normalizing feedback, meaning every single trainer on the squad, us included as senior master trainers, gets feedback regularly. How regularly depends on manpower, how many hours that you can devote to someone sitting in class and taking notes. But I've been to studios where they're like, Sharnee, can you take my class? I want feedback, and begging for it. And I'm thinking, why are they got this great culture? And it's because it's normalized in the studio that they actually all get it. So it's not anyone being stood out and feeling like, that there's something wrong with, their classes or their techniques. And Sebastian is, on the website Academy, going to have feedback from master trainers and all this in the future soon. So it's a huge, huge part of Lagree. Always has been since I've met Sebastian. He's always talked about it being hugely important. Asking yourself after classes, guys, I would love some feedback, and opening up to that. But I think we've got to say, did you like the playlist? How did you feel about the routine? Do you understand the exercises? Do you understand all of the machine parts? Like, please come up and chat to me, because I'd love to help you. But I think you have to actually spell it out so that clients go, oh yeah, I did have a question about that exercise, or I did have a comment about that. And to open yourself up to it specifically and say, I'm not looking for compliments, just for feedback, like come and chat. And then just to see how many people are saying the same things, because one person might say, I love your music. So you think your music's great, but the rest of the class saying nothing, you're not getting that feedback. So you can't just believe, the people that choose to be vocal, and really open yourself up to numbers. I think it's a numbers game. If you're getting a majority of people are liking or disliking something, that's really good feedback. That's something that you can improve on.
When I lived in LA, I went to Sebastian's classes as often as possible. I took dozens and dozens of classes at either Megaformer Studio in West Hollywood or Brentwood, and never once did a class go by that he didn't ask me for feedback. How was this sequence? How was that exercise? What did you think of this? Did that hit? He would ask me sometimes when I would see him at Lagree on Demand, are your legs sore? Did that sequence work? So, I mean, he sets a really good example of that And I love the idea of trainers not being afraid of it, of just opening themselves up, asking at the end of class. It's not about fishing for compliments. It's about really wanting to hear your thoughts. What worked, what didn't work, what would you maybe do differently or want differently next time? And then also, I just had the thought while you were talking, how cool would it be to make that part of the ethos of a Lagree instructor, that's just part of our standard practice, that when we go to each other's classes, we collaborate, we talk to each other afterwards, that we solicit and give feedback freely and openly and honestly, to just make that part of our standard culture as Lagree instructors, that feedback is what we do.
Yeah, that 100% exactly. And also, like, say for a new trainer, we could have a template, and maybe something you could assess yourself. Here's some boxes. Tick, give yourself a mark out of 5. About, do you think that you're good at modifying intensity, making it intense enough? Is the music communicating to you as well as the studio? Do you think your volume and your mic technique, like, actually spell out what potentially is all these different things that we have to try to get a good balance of. I think a template, and I know some studios have it, of these feedback forms so that you can figure out which areas to improve on and strategize. And like you said, even simpler if you're already, a more advanced trainer, just to have those conversations and listen to people of what it is that they're, by knowing what they're feeling and thinking. Sometimes you're surprised about the feedback. I remember once it was, too much hands-on was, and I was like, wow, okay, too much tactile, so to use more verbal and visual. And it was helpful feedback because there's 3 choices in teaching. You're touching, talking, or pointing visually. And obviously visual is very big in Lagree. But, tactile, I sort of choose my moments now of when it's unsafe to touch, or when people's weight is in the wrong place and you need to shift their weight to actually feel it. And so it's really helped to get the feedback that wasn't always necessarily a compliment, like you said. But yeah, we need to be making that a normalized thing for new trainers and squads, that everyone gets it. And we talk to each other after class, and you don't have to necessarily agree with it. If someone says, oh, the music's too loud, turn it down. Well, if that client is bad of hearing, we're not just going to turn the music down from one person, but we could talk louder and closer to that one client and give more visuals, just knowing that this one client thinks like that. You might not change your approach for everybody, but just for that single one person, knowing what they're thinking.
And that is part of the spirit of Lagree. I feel like understanding and seeing individual clients and giving them individualized attention based on our intuition and experience as a Lagree instructor, and being able to, make adjustments as needed. And like you say, always asking permission before giving corrections, etc. That's, I think it's so important. The next 2, I'm going to just kind of combine together. You had mentioned the idea about non-competes and then a spirit of openness and collaboration with other studios. I think those kind of can be kind of the same thing. What are your feelings about non-compete clauses?
Yeah, I love that Sebastian talked about it recently, that, non-compete can really stop a trainer from earning as much money as they would like to. One thing that's, along the same line, but a little bit different, one studio said, we've got studios that are opening up in the area, and some of our trainers are going over to these studios. So we've asked our squad that if you do want more hours, please come and talk to us first, because there may be an opportunity for us to give you more hours, and we'd love to be, the studio that you come to. You're already teaching for us if you're doing this great job. I think sometimes trainers are, scared to be a little bit transparent about wanting to explore and teach elsewhere. But and I think that it's just really good to communicate with the existing people that you work for. And then, on the same note, it's with, a new studio opening up. I think sometimes when a new studio opens and they say, how do we get trainers? And the approach wouldn't be go to the closest studio that you've opened up right next to and try to take all those trainers that they've put time and work into. I think that's why the non-compete things, has been created, because studios don't want to necessarily put all this time into their squad, and then for someone to open up a studio right near them and to take what they've worked for away from them. So the solution being that if you're a new studio, to really just devote time to the certification and try to create a squad that's yours, and let that squad be all the things that you want. So the certification exists, and then post mentorship, and try to build a community of new trainers that exist in this new studio. And then if existing trainers in the area want more hours, then, firstly, maybe ask the studio that you're currently working at, do you have those hours? If it's a no, I think it's fair enough to want to be able to earn more money at a studio, that is not maybe too close by, but, look at cafes or different industries. If people need a second job, that's what they go ahead and do. And it's, I think it's fair enough to be up to want extra work. But I think the problem is just in that a new studio coming into an area where they've worked really hard on their squad, and they're sort of trying to scoop up, if you like, existing squads in entirety, and offering them more money or something. So to if we're going to all work collectively as a community, is to really, have respect for existing studios that are in the area. And then it's a win-win-win that way. If you have that respect, then as trainers need more hours, these studio owners get along, and it's a yes that the trainer can go and fetch for more hours and earn that money that they need to. So it's either generally going in a good direction or not so much, depending on just how studios have communicated with each other in the opening phase.
I think there's a lot of beautiful nuance in what you just described, and sort of where I come down, as I come from the trainer side of things, where, when I was working as a freelance trainer, I needed to pay rent. I needed to, I understand 100% where the trainers are coming from. And unless a studio is able to offer, salary, benefits full time, then it doesn't feel fair to expect a trainer to only work for them. On the other hand, like you say, there's a lot of studios that put a lot of time and effort into mentorship and training, and sometimes they even pay for the trainer certification. So I do understand having a certain amount of time that they expect trainers to stay with them. But I love the approach that you took, or that you suggested, for trainers to just go to the studio owner with full transparency and honesty and say, look, I need more hours. Do you have them to offer me? And if they say no, then the trainer says, well, look, I have to move on. But instead of just sort of sneaking around and getting jobs, just full open transparency, honesty, and approaching it with a sense of professionalism. Because most trainers that I knew in LA worked at 2 or 3 studios, in fact.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas that's very positive, and it's just working for everybody. I don't think clients run across town very far to chase a trainer down. It's not as much as you'd think. Most people are a convenience choice. They'll go to their closest studio by convenience, and if they get a choice of trainer, that's just an advantage. I don't necessarily think it's their number one. And Sebastian talked last time I saw him about competing against some of the copycat studios, and if you're a new studio and considering opening, the more machines that you have, which is obviously something that you always push for, the more money that comes in, the more money that goes to the trainer. So a lot of the trainers are wanting to teach at the Lagree studio, where he's opening up near solid cores and things, because they're paying really good rates comparatively to solid core. So just about non-competitive, obviously you cannot teach Lagree if you're teaching at the copycat studios. You'll have your academy access stripped and not be able to continually educate yourself in Lagree or do level 2 and 3. But a lot of copycat places, the trainers do want to be Lagree trainers instead, not just because of the method, it's the leading brand, but also because the pay rate that Sebastian's able to offer, being that he's putting a lot of machines in those studios. And so the money coming in, there's more to go out, which I thought was really smart, again, and interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing approach, and I think it's the key is, keeping this the industry standard in terms of what we're teaching and the quality with which we're teaching it, and that's what's gonna attract people to stay within a studio rather than some kind of contractual agreement to not leave. I think it's the treating trainers as well as you possibly can, I think. Well, Sharnee, I feel like we have a whole other list of things to talk about, but we're coming to the end of this podcast. And there's one more topic I just wanted to have you talk about, because it's something that really touched me and moved me to advance in my career in teaching in Lagree. And it was something that you, either it was Sebastian had said it and you reposted it on social media, but the idea that to become a master trainer is to embark on a life of service. And there are so many trainers that have reached level 3, and there's going to be a lot more now in the future. They're doing 3 level 3 certifications a year, around that many. I want you to talk about your experience and how you took it upon yourself as a commitment to service when you became a master trainer and a senior master trainer.
Yeah, thank you. I honestly think that helping people, educating people, it's really, really rewarding, but it's also you're giving yourself each and every moment that you're existing in people's company. And so I've had people say I'd like to be a trainer or a master trainer and not really understand the value of, I've heard people say I'd like to be a trainer because I want to work out a lot. And I thought, well, you actually have to make a lot of time outside of work to work out. We're not exercising all day. We're talking and walking and the master training too, lots and lots of traveling, being like you and I, being away from our families, being away from our loved ones. My husband's very tolerant to that and supportive of it. But, the fact of that I don't have kids and other things, there's sort of sacrifices that you're making constantly to be present and to be positive and to be happy. And you absolutely want to be, but you really want to choose that role because that's genuinely what that you want your life to be, to be giving your time, your energy, your passion to people constantly. And I think sometimes things look glamorous. Like we've shared photos with each other, you and I of like the tired moments and the just the things that we're, sitting in airports and missing a plane because delayed and, just juggling. And it's all these little moments in between that we don't post. I guess it's something we could share more about just for the laugh of it. But it's, it's something that both of you and I are so happy that we've chosen to do. But we never stop, giving. And if you want to do the role, I think you just want to absolutely understand that you're committing not all this time necessarily to, I could take my hat off to people that are a master trainer and a studio owner that's a master trainer and traveling. I don't know how you could manage a studio and a family and do this job. I guess that's why they do less certifications. The fact that you and I can do it often is because we have other things that we don't do. I think it's always just good to, I like to sit down with trainers at the start of a certification and figure out what realistically are you looking to do here? Are you already, do you have time for this job? Like how much time are you going to commit and what are you trying to get at? Because as soon as I started fitness, probably about 12 years ago, I went full-time fitness and never looked back. So I don't really know what it looks like to not be doing this, sort of most days of the week for hours and hours a day, over, more than a decade. So I don't even kind of understand the thing of, oh, I teach a few classes here and there. And I'm like, oh, I can't even think what that would feel like. So it's a very different, the more experience that you have, the better that you get at something. So I constantly try to make the certifications different and better. And I've really changed my approach in teaching and master training from the start to now. And I look to constantly be doing that still, changing my approach, especially with exciting being Lagree, that Sebastian's always evolving, but you have to be very open to evolve and commit and be, I guess, on and want to, like you said, serve people and not be the type of person that gets frustrated or can't handle pressure and travel and all the sort of ins and outs that it is to be what we do.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And I'm so glad you brought up the idea of presence, that it's 100% present 100% of the time when you're in those certifications, and to have the strength and energy to be able to give without a break for 4 days in a community it's pretty intense, but what you get back is amazing as well. And I feel like your secret is number one, you love people, if I may. Just tell you what I feel from you is you love people, you love the method, you love making people's lives better, and you love the integrity of the method and what it's done for you. And there's a passion that you have for transmitting that information and that method that's an inspiration to me and to so many other people around the world.
Thank you so much. I feel the exact same way about you, Michael. Honestly, I think having a community like this where you've got people that, like you said at the start, that you can trust, that you relate to, that both of us, into our audio and music, into the master training, living across the globe, having people like you in my life makes, I think it's very reciprocal, that it really makes everything so much, you exist so much stronger in what you do, having that community around you. So I'm so grateful to you, and thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing with this. This is, anything that you do, I'm sure this has been a huge amount of work. I actually looked at thinking, I want to do a podcast. And then I saw you doing it and I was like, yes, go. Oh, Michael.
Well, thank you. I just could not be more honored to have you on, and I feel the same way about you, Sharnee. And let's do this again sometime. This was so great. I feel like we could make another list of top 10 things for the next time. So I hope to have you back on again soon. And thanks again so much for being on the podcast today.
Appreciate you, mate.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Do You Lagree? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If so, please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like to take your Lagree practice or teaching further, check out my book, 400 Lagree Routines, at chipmanlagree.com and on Amazon Kindle. There you'll find hundreds of classic full body, upper body, and lower body sequences to keep your workouts challenging and inspiring for many weeks to come. And please do connect with me on social media and my website for more conversations, tips, and upcoming episodes. And if you're enjoying the podcast, leaving a review is a great way to help others discover it. Until next time, be well, be strong, and keep shaking.